My name is Kellee Davis, and I'm giving my informative speech for Communications 111, and my topic is, what is autism? First, I want to start out by giving a couple facts from the U.S. Center of Disease Control and the Prevention of CDC, released on April 2012, stating that 1 in 54 boys and 1 in every 252 girls in the U.S. has autism spectrum disorder, and boys are 4 to 5 times more likely to get autism. Next, I would like to share a quote from a person with autism. Reality to an autistic person is a confusing mass of events, people, places, sounds, and sights. There seems to be no clear boundaries, order, or meaning to anything. A large part of my life is just been trying to work out the pattern behind everything. And that's from Sneddon, page 9. Alright, and then next I have a little music to get you guys going. People with autism have a brain that is developed differently. There is such a range of how severely impacted a child is with autism. They do not see the world and their surroundings the same as we do. People with autism have a dilemma communicating and understanding other people's thoughts and feelings. The importance of diagnosing autism at an early age, changing their eating habits, and reteaching them to be able to communicate and become a part of society. The inability of an autistic child to willingly engage emotionally, empathetically, with the world around him remains the classic symptoms of true autism. Autism spectrum disorder is short for autism, or ASD is short for autism spectrum disorder. Signs of autism when bored include fetal alcohol or fetal distress, poor oral motor like choking or poor tongue control, not wanting to eat certain foods that could have textures. Physical signs include large head size, or flat heads at the back of the skull, low muscle tone, excessive drooling, hand flapping, twirling, or spinning. And infant irritability and stiffening. Many parents fail to recognize abnormal early language, such as knowing the alphabet or saying hippopotamus instead of mama. Often parents believe such abnormal or supernatural language is a sign of intelligence. That's from Ches, page 2. Things you may not see that are internal would be deformities of the heart, genetic disorders, kidney issues, and skin issues that may reflect underlying issues in genetic disorders. Leaky gut syndrome is the absorption of many metals, pesticides, and chemicals that would normally be passed out in their stool. Large molecules are recognized by the body as foreign, and the immune system goes into attack mode to kill and rid the body of what it perceives as invading giant particles. That was from Buckley, page 67. That is what damages their intestines, causing bad peptides and large undigested food particles and toxins that pass through the damaged cells and into the bloodstream. Self-stimulatory gestures, like unusual holding of toys, staring at lights, fingers, fans, water faucets, car wheels, and lining up objects in rows. Excessive fascination of letters, symbols, shapes, or numbers at earlier than 24 months old. Ches specifies that there is no standardized universal method to confirm the diagnosis of ASD, although psychological screening tools such as Autistic Diagnostic Interview or the Autistic Diagnostic Observation Schedules are quite predictive in evaluating for autism spectrum disorder. Pediatricians are very uncomfortable in telling parents that there is something wrong with their child. Pediatricians like to use the words persuasive developmental disorder or sensory integration. Sensory integration disorder is not unique to autism. It can affect children with cerebral palsy, seizure disorders, and attention deficit disorders, Tourette syndrome, and mental retardation, which is now known as intellectual disability. Many children with autism have sensory problems that make them dislike the textures of certain foods and be allergic to others. Some don't like yogurt, certain meats, lettuce, and chili. Each child with autism is so unique in their eating habits. Some people believe that children should be put on casein gluten-free diets. Casein-free diets consist of no dairy, no dairy products, gluten, grains, or milk. Cheese, yogurt, bread, crackers, and cereal. Casein is also added to non-milk products like soy, cheese, or even hot dogs. Good alternative foods include rice, tapioca, bean flour, garbanzo beans, and lentils. When you buy food from the store, it's hard to find things that are gluten casein-free. Dr. Sears explained that it is best to avoid overwhelming the child with too many changes at once. Don't go cold turkey. And so there's your turkey. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Dr. Sears also explains the importance of sticking with a diet for 6 months before parents decide whether or not it's helping. Children with autism are very picky eaters, so it's best not to pressure them to eat. Some children lack an enzyme called DPPIV, which is responsible for digesting milk and wheat. Sears explains that when it's absent, the protein in milk and wheat are digested at larger particles that look similar to body's endorphins, which are natural clumping pain-relieving chemicals. Sears tells us how endorphin mimickers are actually harmful and function like morphine or Vicodin. They suppress brain function, slow down the bowels, and can create addictions. They also block the pain sensation, which explains why children with ASD have a higher pain tolerance. Some children need weighted vests, which we'll see here in just a minute. Squeeze vests to give them some pressure to help ground their body. Some need trapeze swings. Some children need chewy peas to bite on instead of biting on other objects like toes or fingers or other people. Here's a platform swing. And there's the squeeze vest. There are several educational opportunities to help children with autism be able to learn. ABA is an acronym for Applied Behavior Analysis. ABA is the treatment that focuses on retraining the brain so that autism spectrum disorder patients' behaviors become more controllable and socially acceptable. Buckley, page 3. Is one of the most common interventions and the core to many educational programs for teaching children the autism spectrum. ABA is a very methodic and scientific program that relies on data to demonstrate measurable gains and improvements in behavior. Goals are written up as programs, which are broken down into more easily mastered steps. The procedure for how each step will be taught is described in the programs. There is specific detail on how it will be taught, what the instructor says to elicit a response, and what a specific response is expected from a child. There is also an error correction method to do if a desired response is not elicited. For example, one lesson might be telling the student, stand up. If the child stands up, they would get a penny. Then they would have to do 4 more commands, like sit down, clap hands, stomp your foot, jump. Then they would have a total of 5 pennies. And then they can play with whatever the error reinforcer was. Some students like computers, toys, swings, music, books, Each child is very unique to what they want to work for. Children with autism have many different ways of communicating. Some with children learn PACS, which stands for Picture Exchange Communication Service. There is a computer program called BoardMaker, where you can download the pictures for things like swimming, apple, chair, toys, bathroom, choices, etc. These help children with autism spectrum disorder to communicate and can understand language. As you see here, there's a library, do the shopping, comedy or movie, and taxi. Here's catch, throw, eat, and swim. Also, you can use these to help with picture schedules. They can use these pictures to ask for food, they can answer questions, and they can tell what they want or need. Some children carry around their words around with them in a pod book, which is an acronym for Pragmatic, Organization, Dynamic, Display. Pod books have several different levels, like a beginning level, where students who are nonverbal can scan with their eyes. There is a middle level with several hundred of words that can be made into sentences. The advanced pod books help a child so he or she can comment and have thousands of words to use. The pod books have columns and are colored, coordinated by subject. These are organized in a way that helps the brain process better. Social stories are very important tools to help us teach children how to interact with others at recess or going through the lunch line, following directions when going swimming. It takes several times of reading a social story before a child understands what they should or shouldn't be doing. I hope you enjoy my speech and PowerPoint presentation about signs, diagnosis, eating habits, education, and communicating with people with autism spectrum disorder. Just because a child with autism has a brain that has developed differently doesn't mean they don't have feelings and thoughts. We need to help children with autism spectrum disorder to learn to be social, get used to new places, and learn what they need to do to become part of society. People with autism are so unique that there is not another human being like them. I would like to leave you with a quote from Buckley: the inability of an autistic child to willingly engage emotionally, empathetically with the world around him remains the classic symptoms of true autism. I wish I had more time, as this is just a glimpse of what autism is. And I would like to leave you with this last PowerPoint, which is there is no cure. Hopefully someday there will be a cure, but there is no cure right now. Thanks for listening to my speech.